What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 11th episode of the yet to be named, but we'll figure this out. Lead generation slash helping your agency get more closed deals podcast. It is again Nico, Larissa, and Justine here. Team, what's up? Good morning. Hello. How are you guys doing?
Morning. Doing good.
Is
Doing
a
great.
beautiful day today. We got a fun topic, right, Justine?
Yeah, our topic today is how to sell a revised product offering. Last week we talked about how
Ooh.
to package your services, and that kind of ties into your product offering. So now we're talking about how to sell your revised product offering and kind of how to revise that. So Nico, first thoughts?
Yeah, and as the one that picked this topic, I'll start it, but I'll include both of you in there as well. So, you have the revised topic for the service and the niche that you want to go serve. And if you don't know who it is you want to serve or how to package anything, we have a lot of episodes, 10 to be exact, that go cover all of this. But really, what you want to do now is start structuring your sales goals to be much more focused on selling the outcome that your clients want rather than the solutions itself. So, what does this mean for an agency? So, if you specialize in conversion rate optimization and paid advertisement and social media content, all that fun stuff, you need to figure out, are you in the money making game or money saving game? For a lot of agencies, they're in the money making game. And what that means specifically is, okay, now that you know you're making money, how do you do it? By helping attract the right clients and converting them into paid customers, right? So that is the solution that you're offering. So again, hypothetically, we don't know the niche, but that is what you're selling. And when you go into a conversation, you want to figure out what is that main pain point that the person on the other side of the Zoom is having right now. Because if they just think that they need to get more people coming to their website, maybe they're not the best client for you, because you might look at their website and say, oh, wait, even if people are coming here, you have a 1% conversion rate when a solution like yours should have a 5%. So really, you want to start selling the outcome and all the elements needed to achieve that outcome. So for this example, it's attracting the right client or customer and then converting them to actually paying you money to solve their problem or buy the thing that you want them to buy. So really, like, that is the process on why you need to focus on not a la carting your services when you start selling the outcome and all the elements that lead up to that. So do you guys have any questions so far on like the theory behind, or like what you should lead into before we get more tactical?
I don't know that this is a question, but just, for anybody listening, their own clarification. A big point we're trying to make here is that breaking up your larger service into smaller pieces, so selling a la carte, is killing your business, because you are not only giving up control of things that you need to be successful. And we've been through this. For example, we've had a lot of clients be like, oh, well, like, what if I did the BDR and you guys just do the campaigns? And before we were like, oh, yeah, that's great. But then lo and behold, they wouldn't be doing it, or they wouldn't be doing it right, or, they wouldn't be doing that part of the service that is really important to the end goal, which for them is booking meetings and closing clients. So us selling that a la carte made them unhappy, because they were like, we're not booking meetings. And we were like, that's not our fault. Like, you're the one who's supposed to be like actually doing the appointment setting and doing the business development. So we found that, like, not only were we making less money from those deals because we were breaking off little tiny pieces and selling those pieces individually, it gave us less control of the overall process. Our overall outcomes reduced. And also, those are not necessarily the kinds of clients you want, the ones that will only pay you less money for half of your service. You want them to be willing to pay the full price for the full thing.
Yeah, it's all about outcomes, right? So Larissa said it perfectly. Like, you want to be and there's a very, very old expression, like, you don't want to be hands or feet for your clients. You don't want to do the work. You want to be the brain, hands, feet. You want to be the whole person, which means that you're strategizing and you're continuing to look at it because you are in this case, right, the expert at the solution that you're providing, right? So you don't want to be just the hands or the feet. You want to be the whole brain and all that associated with it, so that you can hedge the success of your client. Like, it's very hard to guarantee success, right? There's so many elements out of your control. If you launch a huge campaign in December of 2020 or 2019, you had to adapt and change what happened, in 3 months after that. So there are things out of your control, but you wanted to hedge the success for your client. So for us, that was optimizing your offer, doing the outbound, setting the appointments, and helping close those deals. Because if we just did one element, like set appointments, then the leads were out of our control. If we didn't have access to the data and we're relying on a third party to do that, then we wouldn't have the quality needed and everything would suffer. So really, you want to actually make more money and serve a client better rather than a la carte. Now, what does this mean? Like, are you going to have to turn away 99% of deals? Probably not, maybe. But what that means is when you go into the sales process, you're selling the outcome with the elements to lead to success. And you really want to start with a complete package and then gauge if you guys are both on the same page, right? If the problem is big enough, then the whole solution should be geared at success, right? But if they're like, hey, listen, like blah 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 blah, A B C D, I don't agree with, then you have to make that choice. Like, are you willing to morph and adapt your services to fit this client, or is that going to jeopardize the success of the client? And we've had to turn down people where they're like, hey, we will do the BDR work fairly recently, and that's awesome. But for instance, that might not be, in our long-term success. So one thing that we've actually done is start offering, okay, if you don't want the whole solution, why don't we help you bring this in-house? Right. That's one route, and that's something we can talk about in the future. But we're not sacrificing the product. The pricing is much more advantageous if you're taking a 6-month, 12-month, 18th-month view on it. But that goes back to the cost of the solution rather than the problem itself. Like, they know they have a problem. It's just a different vehicle to get you there. It requires different inputs. We're not sacrificing the product. You can't just, cut one part of the solution. So we're just offering a different vehicle to the same goal, which is like bringing it in-house. So that's one way you could do it. I don't recommend a lot of agencies, and Larissa can probably talk a lot more about this, help their clients bring in a service in-house, because there is a different type of skill sets that I wouldn't be able to do it by myself. Like, if Larissa and the rest of the team weren't here, like, I would not be successful at offering that. But there are ways to still keep the product intact, but maybe instead of saying, oh, it's, a $15,000, $20,000, or $100,000 offer up front, maybe you spread the payments, or maybe you work on a base plus commission. There's ways to still have success without sacrificing the vehicle to get you there. So long story short, they might agree with this strategy, but there might be external factors like cost that is the actual pain point.
Yeah. So Nico, the big question when we come to a la carte, what does that mean price wise? So how do we charge this? How is it different than selling a la carte? Go ahead and speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, and we're going to get very tangible in this. We'll put some hard numbers in there, right? So when we were doing a la carte, right, especially in the beginning, we would do the LinkedIn lead generation part with appointment setting, right? Those two elements. We've always kind of combined them. So we would offer that for like $1,500, $2,000, right? And then slowly start increasing it. But we saw this problem, especially with when someone was like, hey, I'll do it for you, do it for $1,000 and I'll get you the data. Right. And we're like, oh, that's awesome. We don't have to worry, because it's data mining is very expensive for our industry, because we wouldn't get very specific who we reach out to. So we're like, great, we'll actually make more money. But we ended up losing that client because they weren't getting the data to us in a timely fashion, or as good as we wanted it to. So Luckily we've always kind of combined things, but let's take this for another agency. So I did PPC or CRO. So let's do this on the fly. Pick a agency money making service, and we'll rock and roll from there.
SEO.
SEO. Okay, so we can do SEO. So SEO typically, a lot of people understand that if you're going to Google something, then if you show up first, the likelihood that someone buys that product or service is very high. So typically, like SEO agencies offer some type of web development or content creation or backlink services, right? To really boost up the amount of trust Google sees in it, and i.e. ranking your website. But if you just go with SEO, you're kind of fighting in a commoditized market because you can get SEO for super cheap. You can get it for like $100, $200, $300. So it's a race to the bottom, right? But because we're focusing on the end solution, which is driving maybe a specific type of conversion, right? Maybe it is increasing the the amount of people coming to the website from like 100 to like 1,000 over a 6-month period, whatever. There has to be something tangible there. Otherwise, this doesn't work. So you can say, yeah, great. You can hire someone for SEO, but SEO by itself is not going to achieve the success that you need. You're going to need and then you go into your solution, content strategy, plus backlinks, plus PR, plus SEO, which will get you to the outcome, right? And that's going to be, instead of like $300 for SEO, that's going to be 2,000. But and this is where I'm going to kind of make it up from here because I don't know any specific stats, but this is where case studies stats guarantees come in really helpful. If we can prove that spending $20,000 this year will make you more because of increase in people coming to the website, conversions, all that fun stuff. So that's one high level. I don't know if you guys have questions from that or anything there. I kind of spitballed that one. So we'll see how good the listeners think it was.
Well, so a lot of what we're talking about in this topic, right, is like revising your product offering to control everything from start to finish by not breaking out your outcome into core individual services and selling those individual services. So that's a lot about what we're talking here. So in the SEO example, at the end of the day, and it's going to be like this for pretty much everything, you always want to think about your product, your service as like, by providing all of these services, this bundle of goods, essentially, you're going to achieve far better results than potentially working with, let's say, like 5 contractors or only having one tiny piece of the puzzle, especially if you're not an expert in that area. So SEO is a great example because technically anybody can do SEO, but to do it well is not actually that easy. You need somebody who actually understands Google and their backend, and not just Google. It's not the only search engine. So like you also need to understand like Yahoo and Bing and DuckDuckGo and all of these other like secondary platforms that you also have to optimize for, and you have to do it forward thinking. That's something that the end client is often not as strong in understanding all of the facets about your expertise that you do. So by having larger product offerings with more services, you're able to provide better results because you own everything from start to finish. When you own everything from start to finish is when you can start offering like additional bonuses, guarantees, all this kind of stuff. So using us as an example, right? We do lead generation for a lot of our clients. When we were breaking out those individual services, we found our results were not better, they were worse, because we had to depend heavily on the client who was not an expert in the area that we're experts in to get us, to do that part of the whole package to ideally our quality standards, which I don't think we had a single client who would have done it the way we would have done it. And we did not see great results from almost any client. Even though we literally were like, okay, that's a problem. Let's just give them the training on how to do it. And it's like, okay, that's great. You can train them how to do it all you want. But in our experience, and I would argue that this is probably a pretty common experience, just giving somebody training is not enough to make them do it. Like we have the difference between, we have like quality assurance checks, and we have like all of these checks and balances in place to make sure everything gets done a certain way and that everything that needs to get accomplished gets accomplished. Whereas if we tell a client like, okay, no problem, we just need, let's say like 100 people a week for this campaign to reach out to. The client is just going to go pull a random list. They don't understand all the intricacies of niche and like all of the psychographic factors that go into determining whether that person is ready to buy. Like they don't understand all of that. We can give them a training on it. We can give them a course on it. The likelihood that they read more than 30 seconds into it is pretty small. But by having this revised product offering, you're able to increase your revenue, get better results, and not have to sacrifice the quality of the outcome you're promising.
And it's easier said than done, right? Because in the beginning, you really just want to get started and sign that first couple clients. But here's the biggest problem with that, especially now looking back at it, especially those first couple deals that we had, where we relied so much more on the client and their expertise. They are business owners, right? They know their market more, right? Question mark. And that's not always the case, because that's why they came to us, to help figure out those nuances and details. So just realize that you are an expert, right? As long as you are, right? Don't make it up if you're not, but know that you are an expert and you were hired to solve a problem that the prospect honestly has probably tried to solve a dozen, 2 dozen times by themselves to little to no success. Because why would they be talking to you, right? I've run Facebook ads before. I've gotten nothing from it. I've spent a lot of money doing it. We've hired someone, and we try to micromanage the whole process, and that wasn't successful, right? And honestly, like, just know that you are there for a reason. Like, you are not just hands. You're not just setting up campaigns, right? You're strategically thinking of things and working in the way that you are not just the hands and feet, you are the brain. So that's the last thing I'll kind of add to that, and how to package that up. Specifically, just kind of on the next steps, right? When you present that number, the higher number, always have a backup plan, because let's say like our starting prices have increased significantly, right? So some people can't afford that. Now we do have other mechanisms that doesn't sacrifice the work and the outcome, but might be more advantageous for them to do. And sometimes we can't do it because we just don't feel great, right? Not everyone should bring lead gen in-house, for instance, on the example we said earlier. Sometimes you need someone, an external partner for that. So just know that you're going to get resistance, but you're probably going to make much more of an impact for them and make more money by doing it this way. So,
Nico, so we have a couple more questions, right? Next would be, you've presented this higher number and you briefly talked about like downselling, like what do you do when they get this high number and they're like, okay, that's too much? How do we downsell to make more money in the process?
yeah, and we should clarify, right? If we have mapped out the specific numbers, then it shouldn't really be that big of a shock, to be honest. Like, if we've quantified the value of what we're bringing to the table, like, hey, your goal is $25,000 a month, like this is going to cost 5,000. That's a pretty good one, right? Like, if you sign like 3 clients and they're all paying you 10K and they stay for 3 months, your 5K investment is more than being paid for, right? So sometimes, like, it's not even about the price, it's just like there's something else, like they're scared, there's a lot of money, that's where all the other things come along, right? But let's say that they're like, Nico, like, would love to do this, but enter objection. And I was listening to, I forgot his last name, Cole, from closers.io, someone that we're going to partner with fairly soon. And they were talking about like the 3 different stages, right, of like resistance. And there's money, there's spouse/business partner, and then there's one more. Can't remember those, but you're going to have like one of those 3, but you're going to have an objection unless you are a master at sales or you have an irresistible offer, which we've talked about, right? Irresistible offers are the best. So in the case of downselling, right, there's a couple ways to do it, right? So let's say that you require a 6-month or 12-month commitment if you're SEO. Maybe there's a way to, instead of saying, hey, you're going to pay all this up front, you split it out. This is where bonuses come in really handy as well. Like, hey, we're going to do these SEO services for you and help you do ABC, right? Which might cost you fairly little, but might be the thing that gets them over the hump. Okay. So really, like, you got to figure out, I don't like to cut costs. I don't like to sacrifice. Our downsell opportunity is actually more expensive than our main offer, like candidly speaking, because there's a lot more work for us to do. But in the short term, or in the long term, clients see a lot more benefits. Our downsell is actually an upsell opportunity, to be honest. So don't think about cutting costs or corners for success. Just think about how to add those bonuses, which we have a podcast about. But for us, right, if someone's like, that's too expensive, we have capability. Like, we could actually double their outbound, right, for the same cost. And yes, it's going to cost us some money, but we'll make it back easy with the sale of the client, right? And the better results and whatnot. So that's one thing we can do. Bonuses. One of our clients that we're going to sign, they don't have a CRM. So a huge bonus ad for them was like, hey, you will have a CRM that's managed. You can go in there, run analysis, all that fun stuff. That's awesome for them. And we're going to do it anyway, but it's part of the bonus stack. One-on-one consulting. Closers.io did a really good job with me because they were texting me last night, and he's like, listen, when you sign, we're gonna do like a 2-hour or 1 hour, whatever they said, like offer optimization and like messaging sequences session with you, where our team is, we'll have these people there. It's still costing them money to do it, but they're not cutting their costs to do that. So really, like, cutting costs is like the last, or cutting price is like the last thing. Because again, if you build it this way, you're not a commodity, right? You're not hands. You're the strategist and the implementator of the plan that you're putting in place.
Sort of to wrap it up, what are some actionable steps that people can, start taking today to kind of shift their packaging? I know it's not going to be immediate, but what are some ways that people can start?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Like, what's the outcome? Okay. And then what are all the steps and all the things that have to go into that outcome? And start mapping that into it. And then do your cost analysis, how much it's going to cost you to do, and then double the price at least, right? Or triple it. And then start adding in and listen to our podcast about, how to optimize that offer, how to make those bonuses, how to pre-package or all that stuff. So listen to all our content, and then you have a pretty good idea on like how to sell it. And then when you need outbound, you can actually reference back a lot of the like full solutions that you're doing, rather than like, we're a full stack agency, like, we're going to help you land 2 to 4 new clients every month, right? That's much more compelling. So that's where I would start. And then if you have any questions, email me at nico@getboundlessmedia.com. Go to getboundlessmedia.com, where a new site is launching very soon. I know we see that every month, but this Justine and Larissa have been like really powering through and finishing my FAQ stuff today. So that'll be fun. But yeah, just ask for help. Like, it's so hard to do this in a silo. I could not have done it without my mentor, without tons of hours of study. So don't think about doing it in a silo, and realize that you're probably going to get it wrong anyway. So why don't you just start launching it and let the data speak for itself? So that's it. Are we done? It's a great pod. Wow, super fun.
Yeah, I think that was awesome.
Awesome. Well, again, if you need any help, if you're an agency looking to close 2 to 4 new deals every single month with a team that has proven experience and track record and wants you to make more money from every sale, look no further than Get Boundless Media, and email me at nico@getboundlessmedia.com. Listen to our next episode. It's super, super fun. Probably dropping some huge nuggets of value. But if you need anything, please let this team know, and have a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.